Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Śrī Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta of Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmi. And the author of this book is Gopi Pranadhana Prabhuji. Mukam Koti Vachalam Pangum Langhaite Girim Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So we were text 5 Srimad Prabhu Padam Bhujay Srimad Bhāgavatāmritam Yadvayatani Tade Vedam Sankshepena Nishevyate. The feet of my blessed master are like lotus flowers. I will now honor the nectar of my master extracted I will now honor the nectar my master extracted from Srimad Bhagavatam by summarizing that nectar in brief. Śrī Bhāgavatāmrta is one of Sanatana Goswami's major works, a definitive presentation of the distilled essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. What need is there then of another book with the same title and claiming to serve the same purpose? Śrīla Rupa answers that the original Bhagavatāmrta is so long and complex that many Vaishnavas may have difficulty studying it. Therefore, systematically summarizing its teaching is a worthy endeavor. Śrīla Rupa is eager to distribute to all the Vaishnavas the nectar of his elder brother, laboriously extracted from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then both he and the readers of his Bhagavatāmrta, known henceforth as Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta, in contrast to his brother's Brihad Bhāgavatāmrta, will enjoy the sweet taste of this nectar. Text 6 Idam Shri Krishna Tad Bhakta Sambandha Mridam Dvidha Adau Krishnamritam Tatra Suridayah Pariveshyate. The nectar is divided into two parts, one relating to Sri Krishna and other to his devotees, to his well-wishers. I will first serve the nectar of Krishna. By the definition of the word Bhagavat, a book named Bhagavatāmrta should describe both the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Śrīla Rupa wants to take up the topics of the personality of Godhead first, and then he will write about his devotees, honoring the precedent established by Sri Shaunak Rishi. Tat Kathayatam Mahabhag Yadi Krishna Kathashrayam Atha Vasya Padam Bhoja Makarand Liham Satam. O Great One, please describe these incidents as they relate to topics of Lord Krishna and the saintly devotees who lick the honey flowing from his lotus feet. This is from Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, verses 5 to 6. Now next is text number 7. Nirbandham yukti vistare mayatra parimunchata pradhana tattvat pramaneshu shabda eva pramanyate. In this presentation, I will avoid becoming entangled in logical proofs. I will depend on scriptural authority as evidence because it is the most important means of acquiring knowledge. Since this book is a serious philosophical investigation and not an essay expressing the author's personal opinion or a poetic offering of his sentiments, Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmi begins by addressing the question of pramana. Every traditional school of thought in India has its own praman or means of acquiring prama, that is the correct knowledge. From a broad survey of these schools, we can identify at least 8 different pramans: pratyaksha, anuman, upaman, shabd, arthapati, anuplabdhi, sambhav, and aitihya. Pratyaksha means knowledge acquired when one's senses of perception contact their objects. A person might report this knowledge by saying, I see a pot. Anuman refers to gaining knowledge by inference. According to Gautam Rishi's methods of analysis, one makes an inference when one detects a concrete instance of a general truth or vyapti. For example, one may see smoke on a mountain and think there is fire on this smoky mountain because wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Gautam's original followers defined vyapti in the negative as a particular indicator is not present in any situation where some essential causative factor does not occur, or stated in the positive. There is an invariable concomitance between the indicator and the causative factor to be inferred from it. That is, smoke is proof of fire because smoke is never present in the absence of fire. The Pandits of the new school of logic explain vyapti in more sophisticated terms as occurrence of the indicator, never coinciding with the total absence of the causative factor. Upaman is the means of knowing by comparison. For example, one may learn about an animal he has never seen by being told the gavya, that is the wild forest cow, is similar to a cow. Thus, by comparison, one understands the connection between the name gavya and its referent. A person thus informed may recognize a gavya when he visits the forest and sees it. Shabda Praman means learning from the words of a trustworthy authority. For example, one who has experience may tell someone else 5 palm trees grow on the bank of that river. Such a statement by an experienced person is means of obtaining reliable knowledge. Arthapatti means a presumption drawn from circumstances to explain a phenomenon that is otherwise unexplainable. One may know, for instance, that Devadatta is plump even though he never eats during the day. By Arthapatti Praman, one presumes that Devadatta must be eating at night. Anupalabdhi means discerning something's absence, as when one knows the absence of a pot on a certain piece of ground because one cannot see a pot there. Sambhava refers to knowledge that one's occurrence by definition includes other occurrence as one realizes, for example, that 100 includes 10. Aitihya refers to information obtained from tradition whose original speaker is not remembered. For example, one might hear people say there is a ghost living in this tree. The materialistic philosophers of the Loka-yitaka school, founded by Charvak, who identified the body as a self, accept only the first among these eight kinds of praman, namely direct sensory perception. Pratyaksha, the followers of the Vaisheshika school of physical analysis, accept Pratyaksha plus Anuman, the inference. The Sankhya philosophers and the Patanjala yogis recognize these two pramans plus Shabda, that is the verbal authority. The logicians of Gautam's school accept these three plus Upaman, that is the comparison. The proponents of the Mimamsa school of the Vedic hermeneutics accept all these plus two more, Arthapatti, the presumption, and the Anupalabdhi, perception of absence, and the adherents of Puranic lower knowledge acknowledge two more pramans, the Sambhav, that is the inclusion, and Aitithya, tradition, for total of 8. Arguing from the position of the Vaishnava Vedantists on the question of which praman to accept, Śrīla Baldev Vidyabhushan says that Upaman should not be considered a separate praman because it is a special application of direct perception combined with the inference and verbal evidence. Knowing that a gavya present before one's eyes is similar to a cow is accomplished by pratyaksha. That the word gavya applies to the forest cow is established by Anuman, and one's understanding that a gavya is like a cow was first of all acquired simply by Shabd Praman. Arthapatti, Śrīla Baldev further explains, is also not a separate means of knowing, since it is a kind of Anuman, referred to as Keval, Vyatireki, or exclusively negative inference. Devadatta must be eating at night since he is plump even without eating during the day. Anyone who does not eat at night cannot be stout without during without eating during the day. This, like other plump person who we know eats during the day. Devadatta never eats in the daytime, so he must be eating at night. Sambhava is also a special kind of Anuman, since we can infer that 10 is included in 100 because we never have 100 without 10. Eti here is nothing but a kind of sensory perception, because whoever began the passing on of particular historical information must have seen the phenomenon himself. Anupalabdhi is also not a distinct praman, but rather a variety of visual perception where an object's absence is perceived. Thus there remains only three independent pramans: sensory perception, pratyaksha, inference, anuman, and verbal testimony, shabda. This in conclusion agrees with the opinion of Śrīla Madhvacharya, that the illustrious predecessor of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya. So the only three main pramans: the pratyaksha, anuman, and shabda. And Śrīla Madhvacharya follows that, and he agrees with that, and this is what we follow in our Sampradaya. Even these three, however, are reliable means of acquiring only ordinary knowledge of the material world. They are inadequate for gaining access to transcendental knowledge by being flawed by the four faults: delusion, limited perception, inattention, and dishonesty. I will repeat. So even these are inadequate for gaining access to transcendental knowledge due to being flawed by the four faults, namely delusion, limited perception, inattention, and dishonesty, which we all have in abundance. One may see what he thinks is the head of a person walking behind a wall, but the head may be an imitation intentionally designed to fool the viewer. One may see a pillar of smoke on the mountain and wrongly infer that there is fire there, unaware that the fire has just been extinguished by rainfall. Even verbal authority is imperfect when received from less than perfect sources. The sages, propounding their own versions of truth with all sincerity, often contradict one another. Therefore, when we need to ascertain truth beyond material existence, our only definitive source of knowledge is that Shabda Praman, which is based on the words that have no human author, the four Vedas, the Purans, the Itihas, epics. The Purans and Itihas form an integral part of Vedas as confirmed in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 4.4.10. Evam va are asya mahato bhutasya nishwasitam etad yad rigvedo yajurvedah sama vedo atharva va angiras itihasah puranam. This indeed comprises the breadth of the infinite supreme being, the Rig Ved, Yajurved, Samaved, Atharva, Angiras, Veda, Itihas, and Puran. What is special about the Purans and epics is that even laborers and the spiritually inexpert can study them. Normally, such people who have not received sacred thread initiations are forbidden to chant or even hear Vedic mantras. Although there are exceptions to this rule, for example, chariot builder Rathakars are permitted to light the sacrificial fire and chant the required mantras for certain yagyas. Varshau Rathakaro Agnin Adadhita. A Rathakar should install the sacred fire during the rainy season. So we'll continue our reading next time from verse text 8. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.